look at how to build a portfolio on the platform Behance.net. This is a platform, a free service offered by Adobe, and I'm here at the login page. I've just currently logged in, and you'll notice in the top right there's a generic avatar there. That means I've got to do a little bit of work in terms of building my social profile. This is a professional network where you can socialize with other artists and designers, but there's also a job market in here and pathways to showcase and sell your work. So you want to have a profile that's both professional and represents you accurately and in a manner that you want to be seen by potential employers or people who are going to purchase your work. So I'll just start here by clicking on my avatar, and you'll see here that I can go to my Behance profile. There's a number of settings in here that will determine who can contact you and how, whether you want to be notified about jobs and so on, that you could take a look at in here, but that's not the focus of what I'm looking at here. So let's go to the profile, and right off the top, it wants you to add your first project. I could also edit the information in here. So I'm just going to go to Edit Profile. It wants some basic information. I'm going to put in here Design Professor. The more information you put in here, the more relevance you have. Your social capital or social index increases. You're easier to find. You have broader search criteria. You want to be discovered. So it's important to put a lot of information in there, and it's important that it be accurate. I'm just going to put in George Brown College and location Canada and Ontario. City is Toronto, and I have a number of websites that I could refer to. I'm just going to use one out here, and I just happen to have a blog in here. And I'll just access my blog. There it is, just where I do a lot of writing. And I'll copy that, and I'll go back to that Facebook, and I'll just put that website URL in there. As far as an image, I did a little graphic of myself, and I'm just going to put that in there. And you can determine the cropping. I'm just going to get it like that. Crop and save, and now I've got that image up there for myself. You can build teams here, and you'll notice that you can also put in any Twitter handles, Facebook pages, or links to your personal Facebook page, Dribble, LinkedIn, and Vimeo for professional video. There's other ones there. You could put in Pinterest as well as Instagram. They're all there. The more links you have to your social media feeds, the more powerful this platform is in terms of connecting you to other people. On the web, you can also put in a little bit about yourself. And I am a professor of design at a college in the city of Toronto. My primary focus is in exploring the intersection of design and emerging technology. I have conducted research into emergence and obsolescence at the McLuhan Institute for Culture and Media at the University of Toronto. University of Toronto. Make sure your spelling is correct. That's really important in terms of how you're portraying yourself. Other web links I can put in here as well. And I've got a number of them, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. But I want you to make sure if you have a website, like a Flickr account where you're hosting your photography, you might want to put that in there. Definitely add your work experience because this is a professional platform and you want to start building on this. Really, you don't want just to put any kind of work experience in there. Things that will point towards potential footholds in your career. Did you have opportunities to be a team leader? Did you work on projects that were collaborative? Things of that nature. That's what we call a functional resume or a roles-based resume. Not particularly a job. So for instance, you wouldn't put down that I was a head fry chef at McDonald's, but perhaps you were in a leadership position there, and you would put that in as a functional piece under leadership, and then you could cite where exactly you got that experience and how. Anyway, I can't point my attention to this enough. For the sake of time, I'm not going to fill this out. You should put some of that in there, though. So we've got web references, work experience, and you'll notice here you can also build your own custom section for maybe you want a section on hobbies. You want to put that in there as well. Anyway, we've got that all, and it looks like it won't let me get past this unless I put this in. So I'm going to put in academic blog, seeing as I already have it. You could actually put the URL in for your own. If you get up here, you could copy the URL for your site. I'm just going to paste that in, add it, and that gets added in to my profile information. All right, and of course, I'd be putting in LinkedIn because that's a job market and, excuse me, any other relevant information. Okay, now that I've done that, filled all this out, I can go back here. You'll notice there's my profile. Essentially what I want to do is I want to juice this stuff. These are your metrics. This is really measuring the pulse of your activity and how much people are engaging with you in your work in terms of how many followers, how many you're following, how many appreciations and project views you're getting, as well as things like comments. I'm not going to get much here until I start uploading. So again, I could put in some web links in there, put in some work experience. The more I have, the better. All right, so you'll notice I just want to kind of divert to this. You will get a breakdown. This is your dashboard that will measure how many appreciations, project comments, professional views, and you would see it spread out over a timeline. It would also show you down here who's commenting and appreciating your work with links to those people so you could start a conversation with them. So the idea is to grow these numbers over time. And you can create teams. So if you're going to collaborate with people, you could add their Adobe IDs in and add projects and share those projects amongst collaborative team members. There's also a link here to creating a portfolio website. Behance is more of a conversational website. It's about projects, deconstruction of projects, sharing of projects, but this is more a curatorial function where you can build, using a content management system, lovely mobile-friendly portfolios, has a whole host of templates. This is a paid service. You can see here that it has pricing available. So that's for you to check out when you start building a professional portfolio. Now, back to the home page, and I need to start adding content. So I'm working on a little video project on the color red, and I can upload files. I can start inputting text. I could embed links to video on YouTube or Vimeo. I could go directly into my Lightroom account or into any Creative Cloud files that I have stored, and I can create photo grids where I can bring in a number of photos at once. So just to show you how this works, we've also got this available up here on the left. And I want to just start by bringing in some files. So I click that. I select all of my images that I'm going to use. I'm not going to use all of them. I'm just going to use a few to give you an example. I bring those in, and it starts them in one at a time. I'm going to go down here, so you'll notice as I move between things, you see a dashboard pops up allowing you to continue to upload files, insert text, insert code, get things from Lightroom, Creative Cloud, or create photo grids. I'm just going to create a photo grid down there with the rest of the images, upload the files. I think I can just drag them in, to be honest. I'll try that. I'm just going to grab a bunch of images, and I'm just going to drag them in there. There we go. Okay, so when I've finished that, I brought all my images in. I want to continue. It wants a cover, and I'm just going to call this project is Red Video. And again, you can crop that. It's really important to have a very compelling thumbnail image. This is going to be used as a thumbnail for your project. That's the first piece of eye candy that somebody's going to see. Don't forget, there's going to be thousands upon thousands of artists out on these platforms, and you need it's a little bit like being a fisherman. You need to dangle a little bit of sparkly bait on the end of a hook in order to attract the fish. So keep that in mind when you're creating thumbnails. So I'm going to go with that. The next thing it wants to know is some info about that project. So what creative field is it from? This is really a little bit of motion graphics and video. And I don't see video there. So just take a look here under V. You get to tag it with 3 primary, it doesn't really have, I'll use visual effects in it. I may actually have some storyboarding in there. So I just cannot see an option for video. And it does support video, so they really should have a video category in there. And I just can't see one at the moment. There we go, cinematography. I'll use that. Done. And so I've put in my main creative fields. What tools were used in this project? I haven't done the project yet, but the tools I'm going to use are going to be Adobe Premiere Pro. That's a video editing software. And for cutting the audio, I'm going to be using Adobe Audition as that. Click, done. Is anybody else working on this project? I can add co-owners. And here you can set the copyright. Now when you're starting out, give the most liberal licensing you want, but you control the copyright from here, and it uses Creative Commons licensing. I'm giving the most liberal license. It's the default one. And this allows people to use your work and kind of It says no derivatives, so they can't take your work and do a mashup from it. But you can decide here. It gives you a little rollover question mark. It tells you here others cannot modify your work or distribute it commercially, but they can share it as long as they give you credit. And of course, there's a little warning here if you're, because this is a mixed stage. If you have, adult content, then you should flag it as such. And so what networks do you want it to display on, and how do you want to describe it? Good descriptions make work more searchable, and that's so true. It's video project using still images and a soundtrack to explore editing functions in Adobe Premiere Pro. So keywords: video, I hit tab, project, return, red, return, editing. That's really what this project's about. And I'll just leave it at that. What schools? Well, I can add my school in here. So it's George Brown College. And I can click done. And teams, and adding any credits. So those photographs, I'm just going to say photographs courtesy of Pexels. Okay. Pexels. I think it's .com. And I'll leave it at that. So I've got some credit. Really, you should be crediting the individual photographers, and I will do that later. So I then publish. That project goes live. Publishing is really important. Once you've published, it's going to give you a URL. That URL you can copy, and then you can submit that. You can share it on social media to promote your work. And you can also copy this and submit that in to the project area. So just go back to what we can do here with the project. So I'm back into the edit mode. That was the project. I've got my cover art, okay, and I've got my content put in there, and I can look at the settings. I've set all of that up for my project. And I just want to start adding things. So I want to add a title. So I'm going to put in, let's say, the course name and the project name. Red video, and the course is called Premiere Pro. Sorry, Introduction to Premiere Pro. I can select things. I can make it bold, so I can do a little bit of typography there. Nice little differentiation. I can also apply styles. So this is a content management system. It's kind of using web formatting, what we call cascading style sheet technology. We can give this a header, so it automatically formats it accordingly. Underneath there, hit return to create a new paragraph, and I can introduce this project. I'll write an introduction just to talk about what the project does. So here, I'm going to take this and I'm going to format it not as a header, but as a paragraph. Or sorry, I'll just format it as a subheader. It gives it very different formatting. Hit return, and now I'm going to start writing about this. And this should describe the nature of the challenge presented to you in the project. So I would go on to describe, this is a video, I'll just do it. This is a video assignment using a color theme and still images set to video. The images are transitioned from one to the other using timing and transition effects and text, all set to a musical score. So I've defined what the challenge is. That I'd put into my introduction. This I'm going to format as paragraph text. So you can see I have very clear typographical differentiation. Now, when you're looking at these images, your audience is going to wonder why this is being presented and what the significance of this is. So if you roll over any image, you get access to its edit function here, and you'll notice that you can add, you can replace an image, you can delete it, you can add a caption. So I'm just going to say above red leafed tree symbolizing death and the onset of winter. Winter is coming, John Stark. That's a little thing for those of you that watch Game of Thrones. Okay, so you'll notice that there are these differentiations. I can center these captions, I can flush them right, or make them flush left. So this is a caption, and this is important because below this I'm going to add some more text. I'm going to add now the next section, which is my materials. And for materials, really, I used a computer, and I used Adobe Premiere Pro, and I used Adobe Audition and royalty-free images from Pexels. So again, I click on here, and I'm going to format that. Select that text, format that as a subheader. So it gives it the appropriate formatting. And again, I would add in another section on creative process. And this should describe the process by which you come up with and develop your ideas. So ultimately, it should answer the why of why you made the choices you made, i.e., why did I choose red as my color theme? Well, it's quite simple. The color red, the choice of the color red was influenced by the fact that I have been binge watching a Netflix series called Peaky Blinders, which features the music of Australian musician Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. The signature song for the series is titled Right Red Hand. It dramatically alludes to a dark and sinister character who haunts us and tempts us, but rarely for our own good. It is quite biblical in nature. It is quite moral and biblical in nature. So I'm expanding on the creative, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Again, I'll take this, I'll format it as a subheader, and on and on and on. And eventually I would get down to creating a section on production methods. And here I would articulate how I did what I did, not the why that's covered up in the creative process. Production methods answers the how of how you created the work. This is really the meat on the bones. There's a lot of people, if they're impressed by the work that you've done, would be very curious to know how you did it. So this is an opportunity to share best practices and workflows. In fact, I often call this section by two names: production methods and workflow. Sometimes I'll even do a schematic showing the actual workflow from start to finish and all the interoperable parts and how they interconnect. So here I would add a lot of screen grabs from the application showing key steps in the production process. Show key steps in the production process using in-application screen grabs. I'd do a final section. I'd probably embed my video here, or at least a link to my video out on YouTube or Vimeo, and then I'd embed that video there just to showcase it, and then I would do a final concluding section. So what were my takeaways? What were the takeaways? The lessons learned along lessons learned along the way. If you had it to do again, what might you do differently? Do you have any words of wisdom for anyone about to try something similar, i.e., what we call best practices? And there you have it. So when you're done, you would save all of that. You could preview it and have a look at it. And let's say you decided, well, gee, I need to reorganize where things are. Well, at any time you can click here and you can say reorder project. Now you'll notice that everything here moves. Now the beauty is, if I move this down here, or up here rather, excuse me, the beauty is these are the text pieces and they all move separately. But you'll notice in this case here with the red tree, you don't see the caption because the caption's embedded or connected at the hips with the image. So I'm going to save that new order, and you'll notice there's a new order now. You'll notice there's the introduction, there's the materials section, and here's the image in a different location, and the caption has moved with it. That's very important. So, you're now a member of a community, and it's really important to connect with your peers and going out into that world and taking a look at their work and appreciating it. Find people whose work really inspires you and try to drum up a conversation with them. It's social, so you can follow the person, you can appreciate their work. And we're just going to go down here to near the bottom. This is fantastic work. A little thumbs up. Boom. You can even create a collection. Create a collection called, cartooning, illustration, and add, and you've created this meta tag, and you can create these collections of things that you like. If it's package design, create a whole collection of package designs. And if it's photography, create a collection of photography, and so on. Now, you can follow that person, Franco Spagnolo. These are thumbnails of all the projects that they've worked on, and you can leave them a little note telling them what you liked about it. Love the colorscapes that you have used. The characters are very dynamic. Keep posting. Give them a little comment. Now you'll notice here, it's showing here, this is it's being featured by Behance. It shows the software that was used in that project. So I'm just going to back out to my stuff. If we go in here, here's my profile. There's the thumbnail of the project. There's the collection that I created. And this would show whose work I've appreciated. And this will build and build as you engage more. There's my profile. These are my projects. And if I get in here, I could edit that, keep adding to it and making changes. And you want people to appreciate your project and add comments to yours. You'll notice it's showing the tools that I used. So when I set out all that information, it's giving me credits, tags for searching, and I can start promoting this on various social media channels. So altogether, a very powerful and free platform. Good luck with it.